I've been asked the question, was the Prophet poisoned before his death? There is a notion, people, that the Prophet was poisoned and died as a result of this poison. Now, many ex-Muslims and atheists and Islamophobes have taken it to social media saying that, look, the Prophet died a humiliating death. The Prophet of Islam having been poisoned, and this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawud and Darmi and Musnad of Ahmad and all these hadith books. So what is this hadith about? So there's a hadith, and what I'll do is take the main one, which is in Sahih Bukhari, and it does have, it resonates in Abu Dawud as well, and the Sunnah of Darmi, and the Musnad of Ahmad. Now the hadith states that the Prophet said in his in his dying illness that, Ya Aisha, O Aisha, ma azalu ajid alam at-ta'am, I continue to find, or I still feel the pain of the food, alladhi akaltu bi Khaybar, that the food that I ate in Khaybar, which was the poisoned food that I ate in Khaybar. فهذا أوان وجدت انقطاع أبهري من ذلك السم. So this is the time in which that poison is cutting my aorta, the arteries to my heart. Now, so basically what the Prophet is saying in this hadith, if this hadith be true, which it isn't, but I'm just going to say, if this hadith be true, the Prophet is saying, I at this stage am finding that poison finally killing me. The poison which we ate back in Khaybar 3 years prior to this incident. Now this hadith is in Bukhari, it is in Abu Dawud, it's in Darmi, and there's variations to this story which are in Sahih Muslim and in other books. Now first of all, this is nonsense. Okay. The Prophet did not die of poisoning. I don't know which genius along the way got this idea to somehow think, I know why, that it would be awesome if the Prophet was not only a prophet but also a martyr. I mean, I don't know at what stage this incident got fabricated or people recreated this event, but they did. This hadith or this story is massively contradictory. I will show the contradiction and then also show from the chain perspective why it is unacceptable. So let's take a look at the chain first. Taking the strongest, which is Sahih Bukhari, and it has its chain in Darmi and Abu Dawud and Musnad of Ahmad. So in Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 4428 is narrated from Yunus, from Zuhri, who says, قال عروة قالت عائشة, that Aisha said, يا عائشة ما أزال أجد ألم الطعام الذي أكلت بخيبر, that I still continue to find this poison from that food. Now Yunus, the problem with Yunus right here, Al-Aili, is that Abu Zur'a has transmitted about him that when he would not transmit from something that was written, it was as though he had nothing. He was not a scholar, a master of hadith. He was not a hafidh. ليس بالحافظ. He says, إذا أخذ من حفظه لم يكن عنده شيء. If he was trying to narrate from memory, he was unreliable. Okay. Imam Ahmad states about him, لم يكن يعرف الحديث. He was not somebody that even knew hadith. And he mentions that يشتبه عليه hadith al-Zuhri, that he would often mix up hadith. Like sometimes he would be transmitting one hadith from somebody over here, one from somebody over here, and he would put parts of it with him and parts of it with him. So Yunus al-Aili, there are already huge problems with him. Waqi' transmits about him, رَأَيْتُ Yunus وَكَانَ سَيِّئَ الْحِفْظِ. He says, I saw Yunus and he was terrible in his memory. Ibn Sa'ad, the famous Ibn Sa'ad, says about him that لَيْسَ بِالْحُجَّةِ, he is not an evidence. And he says, رُبَّمَا جَاءَ بِالشَّيْءِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and sometimes he brings some hadith that are unacceptable. Okay. Second person in the chain is Zuhri. And Zuhri here is not saying he heard, and he is a mudallis. Ibn Hajar has put him from the Tabaqatul Thalitha in his Mudallisin book. Al-Ala'i considers him to be a mudallis. Ad-Darqutni considers him to be a mudallis. Unacceptable, the chain is not connected. He himself, Urwa, who Al-Hakim also mentions that some of his narrations he also kind of tries to cover up sometimes because he hasn't heard them directly. Some of his narrations he hears through his brother, Abdullah. And Darqutni highlights that there's problems sometimes with Urwa, as does Nasa'i. Urwa here himself does not say, I heard. He just says, Qalat Aisha. Aisha said. So as you can see, this chain is problematic. There is a varying chain bringing the same hadith in Abu Dawud. And that chain has the person in it, Muhammad ibn Amr al-Ansari, who Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan says problematizes as a problematic narrator, as does Imam Malik, as does Yahya ibn Ma'in. Even Ibn Hajar says that although he's a truthful person, but he makes mistakes. And Ibn Sa'ad said, Yustad'af, he's considered weak as well. Right now, and then there's a narration in Musnad of Ahmad. Once again, it comes from Zuhri with An'ana, so it's unacceptable. Right now, you'll find that with most of the chains. But now let's go to the content of this hadith. The problem with the content of this hadith, people, is this is the incident that after the Battle of Khaybar, which you know was it was a very difficult kind of battle, the siege, and the whole kind of bloodshed, everything, people are aware of that. Now, after that, according to this incident, the Prophet was invited by a Jewish woman to eat some food. So he goes along, and in this hadith, which is in Abu Dawud, him and the companion and other companions go to eat this food. Amongst them, Bishr ibn al-Bara, radiyallahu anhu. Now they sit to eat, and whilst they're eating, the angel Jibreel alayhi salam tells the Prophet that don't eat it, there's poison in it. So the Prophet refrains and says, hey, stop people, stop eating it. But Bishr radiallahu anh has already eaten it. Therefore Bishr dies. Or in some narrations he dies there, in some narrations he dies within a few days. Now when he dies, then once again the narrations disagree. Some say when he dies, then the Prophet asks the old lady. Some say no, he asks the old lady there and then, why did you poison us? And she says, well, because if you're a prophet, you're going to find out anyway, weren't you? So then the Prophet responds. She says, well, if you weren't a prophet, I would have killed you for what happened in Khaybar. If you were a prophet, well, you ought to find out anyway. And the Prophet in Sahih Muslim's narration says, مَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُسَلِّطَكِ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, that Allah would not let you carry out something like that. Now check this out. He will not let you poison me. This is that same hadith. What is it saying in Bukhari? Oh, I'm finding the poison is now killing off my arteries. It's cutting off my arteries, my aorta. This is already a contradiction. The fact that Bishr ibn Barra radiallahu anh dies from that poison. How can that poison take 3 years when Bishr has already died from it? So Bishr eats it and he's dead, and the other person eats it and hey, lo and behold, 3 years later he dies. That's not how that kind of poison can work. So somebody had asked, can this be equivalent to toxic radiation? No, it can't. This is not radiation. This is poison. Okay, the person who ate it, the people who ate it, Bishr allegedly, this whole incident is fabricated, but according to this story, Bishr dies there and then, or within a few hours, or at most a few days, he dies. That's in the narration, that's in Abu Dawud, that's in the other texts. So if he dies, how can other people or the Prophet take years, up to 3 years to die? That is nonsensical. The other thing is, according to the same hadith in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet said to the old lady, "Ma kana Allah liyusallitak ala dhalik." Allah would not let you get away with something like that. He would not empower you to do something like that. Okay. So that contradicts massively. I mean, this is a huge problem. You can't accept this. The other thing is that this goes to show that, you see, Allah said in the Quran that, Ya ayyuhan nabi balligh ma unzila ilayk, that, O messenger of God, that stand up with the message. Allah will protect you. And here, evidently, Allah has not then protected him. That Allah says that we will na'simuka minan nas, we will protect you from people, but evidently he didn't, because he was poisoned and he died. So this, and then that's actually a good verse as well, that Allah mentions, as Ustad Khalid has said, وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ عَلَيْنَا بَعْضَ الْأَقَاوِيلِ لَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُ بِالْيَمِينِ وَلَقَطَعْنَا. That Allah mentions that, look, if the Prophet had been making up verses against us, we would have seized him and we would have cut his aorta, and that we would have cut him from his arteries, as in that would have been finished. Now the wording of this hadith, although using different words, is referring to the same kind of phenomenon of, I feel my arteries or aorta is being cut off. So non-Muslims could then use that to show, well, maybe the Prophet was making things up, because the Quran said that وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ عَلَيْنَا بَعْضَ الْأَقَاوِيلِ, if he had made up certain verses against us, this is the kind of death that God would have given him. He would have cut off his aorta and arteries as a punishment, as the Quran states. Now, you see, this is an humiliating kind of response. This is not dignifying our Prophet, this is humiliating him. Not to mention the fact that then they say, well, the Prophet said, oh, here's a hadith that whoever eats such and such dates can never be impacted by poison or by magic. And then, ironically, what are the two things they say the Prophet was impacted by? Magic and poison. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is an insult to our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is why, people, we need to stop giving these khabru ahad primacy above the Quran. We need to learn from the examples of Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, that when a hadith comes that contradicts the overall message of the Quran, you need to put it aside. Look, when Imam Malik, when the hadith came to him, that the dog, this is how, when a dog licks your bowl and you must wash it, and he said, look, I accept that it has come with a solid chain. I accept that. He said, but the Quran teaches us something different. فَلَا نَدْرِ مَا حَقِيقَةُ. We don't know what this hadith is on about. We're going to put it aside. We're not going to accept it. It's problematic. It cannot be a true hadith. And he said, by accepting these one-on-one, لَيَنْزِعُ الدِّينَ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ, the deen will be snatched from in front of you. Al-Aidan has asked, what if the poison was delayed as a miracle? As a miracle of what? Of humiliation? To humiliate the Prophet? Because the Quran seems to suggest that this is the kind of death you will get if you lie against God. And lo and behold, that's what these people are saying is the kind of death the Prophet suffered. So once again, you see, you can't have it. And Bishr ibn Bara radiallahu an is the companion. Right, so, sorry, just one moment, just reading this. And Bishr ibn Bara radiallahu an is the companion who dies there and then, according to this incident. So that is really important. So this is why, because the reason I'm saying this, people, so Surah Al-Haqqa, verse, you've got 44, going into 45 and 46, shows this, that look, تنزيل من رب العالمين, that the Quran, ولو تقول علينا بعض الأقاويل, had of the Prophet made up the Quran, لأخذنا منه باليمين, that we would have seized him, ثم لقطعنا منه الوتين, then we would have cut off his supply. Now, to say that he died in a way which he had his kind of aorta and arteries cut off, as is the description of the Prophet himself saying, I'm feeling this, in reverse engineering can almost make this verse apply to him. So it's a humiliation. So it's saying inadvertently that the Prophet was humiliated. And that is unacceptable. Let alone the fact that the story is ridiculous. And the fact that, look, in all honesty, if you took this incident to be true, let's just investigate it. So the Prophet is there, the angel comes to teach the Prophet that, hey, there's poison in that food. But what, they can't do it fast enough to save the life of Bishr ibn al-Bara? What, the angel can't come fast enough? Like what, God? I mean, what is going, since the angel's going to come anyway, since you're going to break all the laws of nature and have intervention anyway to save all, because in the same hadith the Prophet said, raise your hands from the food, irfa'u aydiyakum, don't eat the food, but Bishr ibn al-Bara had eaten it, so he died. So the Prophet failed in saving all his companions, and the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, an atheist could argue that, well, okay, he saved all of these, but he failed in saving one person. I mean, why not just come a bit quicker, since you're going to come anyway? So, I mean, you see, because either the angel is not going to come, or he is going to come. If he is going to come, why is he coming to save the people from this poison, but, well, one person died? So that's still a failure. Okay, you could say that there's some success, there's relatively, okay, saved all these people, but he failed on one companion. So it's still an insult. And then the Prophet being poisoned is an insult. And this is how the Prophet dies, by suffering with that poison and dying. What a ridiculous statement. This hadith is a false hadith. The chain is unacceptable. As I mentioned, it has these people like Zuhri, it has An'ana, it's unacceptable, Yunus is critiqued, and all these things and these other ruwat, and then it clashes with the Quran, with the teaching of the Quran, and general understanding of Islam. Okay. So people, with that, I want to take us to, somebody said that's called taqdeer, that's called destiny. No, it isn't called destiny. That's called, that's just simply called humiliation. To say that the Jews poisoned our Prophet and he died as a consequence of that is actually, what you don't realize is you're insulting Islam, you're insulting God, and you're insulting our Prophet. Because our Prophet did not die because somebody poisoned, because that's like saying, well, really the Prophet ought to have lived on, but the Jews kind of finished him off. I mean, what a ridiculous thing to say. So, people, please just think sometimes what you're actually saying.